The word archaeology might make you think of the Egyptian pyramids, but in our own region, archaeologists are uncovering evidence of human activity thousands of years before the pyramids were built.
Tilt the head up.
To be an archaeologist, it takes a lot of precise measuring,
Shooting. Got it.
a lot of scraping, and a lot of sifting. There's a reason for all this hard work. These archaeologists are looking for the tiniest bits of evidence of ancient civilizations.
I like to spread the rocks out so you can see each one.
That's Brendan Nash, a doctoral student of archaeology at the University of Michigan.
So what we're looking for in here are the tiniest little flakes, debris from the manufacture of stone tools.
This dig site is in the middle of a farmer's field in southwest Michigan.
You know, this was a outwash plain. The water from the glaciers was sort of poured out for thousands of years, channeled, down past this area and left just innumerable little pebbles and stones, some of which are really high quality chert.
Chert is a sedimentary rock that was key to the existence of people who occupied this land about 13,000 years ago. It has two basic properties which make it useful for manufacturing stone tools. It breaks with a smooth fracture to form very sharp edges, and it's very durable, perfect for making sharp tools and spear points for hunting. They were called Clovis points. The people who made them and used them for hunting are called Clovis people, after Clovis, New Mexico, where artifacts like these were found in the 1930s.
We know the site was visited at least twice by Clovis groups, may have been as many as 4 or 5.
The person who discovered this site and brought it to the attention of the archaeology department at the University of Michigan is a self-taught archaeologist named Tom Talbot. He grew up around here and now lives in Mendon, Michigan.
I was born, probably about 3 miles southwest of here.
Tom spent a lot of time on his grandparents' farm, exploring the neighboring fields in St. Joseph County. At just 11 years old, he discovered his life's passion.
I had a friend whose father worked in soil conservation, and he would collect arrowheads and flint knives and stuff and bring them home. So at 11 years old, he showed me what to look for as far as some of the signs that these people left behind.
What young Tom found while exploring the fields around him were pieces of rock, just little chips and flakes.
I went back and found some heat-fractured rock on a little sandy hill next to this marsh and started walking around. And I picked up like 2 arrow points and a couple of flint knives, some broken pieces. That was thrilling to be able to actually go out and find a village site on my own.
Talbot lives in a house not far from the dig site. An entire room in Tom's house has been converted into his archaeology lab. He uses a powerful microscope coupled with his cell phone to zoom in to an arrowhead made from chert for a closer look.
So all the constituents are here for a good view of what Attica chert looks like.
Attica chert is usually found about 150 miles southwest of this dig site near the Indiana-Illinois border. So the question that Tom and his fellow archaeologists had to grapple with was, how and why did it end up here? It's believed that Clovis people in search of game migrated to this area about 13,000 years ago during the Pleistocene era, commonly referred to as the Ice Age. They set up camp, manufactured and sharpened their hunting tools in what is now this farmer's field in St. Joseph County. Tom uses a 3D printed copy of a Clovis spear point to show the detail of how they were made.
You can see the fluting here. That was done, and to put it on the handle or shaft. I believe they did a dual or multi-purpose hafting. So instead of putting this point on a shaft of a spear, they would mount it on a hollowed out piece of bone, guy could have several of these hanging from his hunting belt, put it on the spear.
This particular dig site is called the Belson site, named for the family that owns this farmland. It's a significant discovery. The Clovis culture has been studied in the southwest and southeastern United States, but the Belson site is the oldest Clovis site ever discovered in Michigan. Talbot and archaeologists from the University of Michigan have been digging at the Belson site for the past 4 years.
In Clovis times, we think, if you correct me if I'm wrong, this was sort of an open grassland, sort of like a savanna. And at some point, a mixed hardwood forest came in and put roots through essentially the entire area here. So that's a major source of disturbance, and we can see the roots in the undisturbed sediment.
It's tedious work, scraping and then sifting through the dirt to find tiny fragments of rock that offer clues about what happened on this spot thousands of years ago. The dig site is carefully measured out in 1-meter square sections. Dr. Henry Wright, anthropology professor at U of M, has been leading digs like this around the world for many years.
Well, we had a large concentration of material at the surface level. This has been mapped already. Brendan has done a really nice statistical study of the surface and the immediately subsurface level. And so we have a continuous, dense scatter of these small, tiny flakes from the activities of Paleo-Indians. And we're right in a very interesting part of that area, so we're hoping to see exciting finds.
And then a discovery.
There it is.
A tiny fragment of stone.
This is our first artifact of the day. This is a small flake from the refurbishment of a Clovis spear point. So you can imagine when you're resharpening a stone tool, you have to shave down the edge all the way after it breaks to reform it into a point. And when you do that, you end up with a whole bunch of little extra pieces of debris, which is what we have here.
I am looking to see if this chert is familiar enough to me to identify it with just the naked eye. Almost looks like Wyandotte Chert from all the way down to the very bottom of Indiana on the Ohio River, but I'm going to go ahead and set up my microscope and look at it a little further. There's some curious aspects to it that I'd like to see. Under further inspection, under my microscope here, it's actually Muldrow Chert.
Muldrow Chert comes from hundreds of miles away, suggesting that people moved or traded over long distances in this region 13,000 years ago. This fragment also seems to have been modified with fire to make the hard chert easier to work.
Chert are more useful if they heat treat it. And they bring it up very slowly in sand. They bring it up to several hundred degrees and then let it cool down naturally.
After taking a few measurements, the Belson site crew calls it a day and covers up the site with tarps. Next stop, the lab.
Well, yesterday we were out at the Belson site, excavating and mapping pieces of cultural debris. And today we're analyzing and cataloging all of that material that we excavated yesterday. Tom determines what kind of stone it is. I determine a technologic category to put it in.
All the data that's collected is used to create a 3D map of the Belson site.
So what we have here is a three-dimensional data map of the Belson excavation. Each blue dot is a flake. Each green dot is a C14 sample to send off for radiocarbon. And our red dots are our formal tools. And we see a strong central cluster that we believe is a dugout heating feature, maybe the first Clovis hearth to ever be found. And when we look at it in profile, we see a real nice line in the profile. So this is the elevation at which they were living. We are quite certain that these flakes have undergone no transport since deposition. They are sharp and they will cut you. After 13,000 years, they will still cut you.
One by one, each specimen is carefully examined.
Okay, what I'm looking for first is the point from which this thing was struck. And I can see a little platform right here. And it's a prepared platform. It appears to be ground a little bit, which is typical.
Talbot says he's in his element working alongside professors in the lab, despite his lack of formal training in archaeology. But it's out in the field, working under the hot sun at the Belson site that stirs up memories of how his life's work began as a curious kid exploring his own neighborhood.
I do remember standing on a sand hill looking over a marsh, and it turned out it was just on the other side where the Dawson site was discovered, thinking that someday I would make a significant contribution to the archaeological history, and that happened.